The hunters become the hunted. The arrival. The massive shadow fell across the International Space Station at exactly 14:32 GMT on a Tuesday. That would change everything. Captain Marcus Chen was reviewing supply manifests in the station's command module when the emergency alarms began screaming. Through the viewport, he watched as something impossible blotted out the sun. The ship was enormous, easily 10 times the size of anything humans had ever built. Its hull gleamed like polished obsidian, covered in strange geometric patterns that seemed to shift and move when you looked at them directly. Red lights pulsed along its surface in a rhythm that reminded Marcus of a heartbeat. Chen to Houston. Control. He spoke into his headset, trying to keep his voice steady. We have an unidentified vessel in Earth orbit. Repeat, unknown craft is holding position approximately 2 kilometers from the ISS. The response came crackling through static. ISS, this is Houston. We're tracking the object. Stand by for instructions. But before Houston could say another word, the alien ship opened communications directly. The main screen in the command module flickered to life, showing a face that would haunt Marcus's dreams for weeks to come. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on its elongated skull. Its skin was gray and scaled, with deep ridges running from its temples to its neck. When it spoke, rows of needle-sharp teeth were visible in its wide mouth. Greetings, primitive beings, the alien said in perfect English. I am Hunt Master Vextar of the Krillian Empire. We have been observing your species for several rotations of your world around its star. Marcus found his voice. This is Captain Chen of the International Space Station. On behalf of Earth, I welcome you to our solar system. The alien's 4 eyes focused on him with predatory intensity. Your politeness is amusing. We have not come for diplomacy, Captain Chen. We have come for the great hunt. The invitation. Within hours, representatives from every major nation on Earth were gathered in an emergency session at the United Nations. The alien ship remained in orbit, silent and menacing. Huntmaster Vexitar had requested a meeting with Earth's leaders, and nobody was foolish enough to refuse. The holographic projection of the Krillian appeared in the center of the General Assembly Hall. His presence seemed to fill the entire room despite being just light and energy. Leaders of Earth, Vextar began, his voice carrying easily to every corner of the hall. For 3,000 years, the Krillian Empire has maintained a sacred tradition. Every generation we seek out new species to test our warriors in the great hunt. Secretary General Maria Santos stepped forward. Huntmaster, we appreciate your tradition, but surely we can find some other way to honor your customs without violence. Vextar's laugh was like breaking glass. You misunderstand, primitive one. The great hunt is not about violence, it is about survival. We have studied your species extensively. You are perfect prey. The room erupted in angry voices. Marcus, who had been brought down from the space station as the only human to have direct contact with the aliens, stood up. What makes you think we're prey? Your history, Vextar replied simply. You have no natural weapons, no claws, no venomous fangs, no armored skin. You are slow, weak, and lack the killer instincts of true predators. You have survived on your world only because you lack natural predators. This makes you ideal for training our young hunters. Dr. Sarah Walsh, Earth's leading xenobiologist, had been studying everything they could learn about the Krillians. She stood and addressed the alien directly. You're making assumptions based on incomplete data. Humans are more complex than you realize. Perhaps, Vexitar admitted. That is why we offer you a choice. Select your best warriors. If they can survive 7 days on Kethamoran, our sacred hunting ground, we will leave your world in peace. If they fail, we will harvest a portion of your population for future hunts. The terms were brutal but clear. Earth had no weapons that could threaten the massive alien ship. Their only choice was to play by the Krillians' rules and hope humanity's champions could survive. After hours of debate, a team was assembled. Marcus Chen would lead, using his military experience and natural leadership abilities. Dr. Sarah Walsh would provide scientific expertise and survival knowledge. Sergeant Jake Morrison, a decorated Special Forces veteran, would handle combat situations. Engineer Lisa Park would deal with any technology they encountered. The arena, The transport to Kethmaran took 6 hours through something the Krillians called a space fold. The human team spent the journey studying everything they could about their captors and their destination. Kethmaran was a moon orbiting a gas giant in a system 12 light-years from Earth. The moon had breathable atmosphere and Earth-like gravity, but that's where the similarities ended. The landscape was a nightmare of jagged rocks, toxic plants, and creatures designed by evolution to kill. The rules are simple, Huntmaster Vextar explained as their transport approached the surface. Survive for 7 days. There are shelters scattered across the hunting ground, but they are occupied. Food and water must be found or taken. The environment itself will try to kill you, as will the native creatures we have introduced. Jake Morrison checked his equipment for the 10th. They had been allowed basic survival gear, knives, rope, first aid supplies, and emergency rations for 2 days. No guns, no advanced technology, no communication devices. What about the other hunters? Sarah asked. Ah, yes. Vextar's eyes gleamed. 3 teams of our finest young warriors will be hunting you. They are equipped with traditional weapons, only no energy guns or technological advantages. The hunt must be fair. Lisa Park couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Fair? 3 trained teams of alien warriors against 4 humans with kitchen knives? You forget, Vextar replied. You have the advantage of desperation. Prey often fights hardest when cornered. The transport landed in a clearing surrounded by twisted trees that looked like they were made of black metal. The air smelled of sulfur and ozone. In the distance, something howled, a sound that made every human instinct scream danger. Your 7 days begin now, Vextar announced as the transport lifted off, leaving the 4 humans alone on an alien world designed to kill them. First night, the team found shelter in a cave system about 2 kilometers from the landing site. Jake had scouted ahead and determined it was defensible, with multiple exits and good visibility of the surrounding area. Marcus set up a watch rotation while Sarah analyzed the local flora and fauna. Most of these plants are toxic, she reported, examining samples through a small field microscope. But some might be edible if processed correctly. The good news is the native predators seem to avoid this area. Why? Lisa asked. Sarah pointed to scorch marks on the cave walls. Something with energy weapons used this place recently. The residual radiation is probably keeping the animals away. As night fell, the moon's landscape transformed. Plants that had appeared dead during the day began to glow with bioluminescent light. The howling sounds grew closer and more frequent, and somewhere in the darkness, their hunters were moving. Jake spotted the first one during his watch shift, a tall, lean figure moving through the trees with fluid grace. The alien carried what looked like a spear with a crystalline tip that glowed faintly in the darkness. Contact, he whispered into his throat mic. 1 hunter, 200 meters, southwest, moving parallel to our position. Marcus joined him at the cave entrance. Are they testing us or positioning for an attack? Testing, Jake replied. They want to see how we react. Smart hunters study their prey before striking. But the Krillians had made a fundamental error in their assessment. They saw humans as prey because they looked at human physiology and behavior in isolation. They didn't understand that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't claws or fangs. It was the ability to turn any environment into an advantage through adaptation and innovation. Sarah was already working on that advantage. She had identified several plants that, when combined, created compounds that were toxic to Krillian biology but harmless to humans. Lisa was using her engineering knowledge to create simple but effective tools from the debris left by previous hunts. They think we're rabbits, Marcus observed as he watched the alien hunter disappear into the darkness. But rabbits don't set traps. The first hunt, Dawn, broke with the sound of screaming. Not human screaming, something else entirely. Marcus and his team emerged from their cave to find the forest in chaos. Whatever had made that sound was big, angry, and apparently in pain. That came from the direction our watcher went, Jake reported, studying tracks in the soft soil near their shelter. They followed the trail cautiously, moving in single file with Jake taking point. The tracks told a story. The Krillian hunter had been moving toward their cave when something attacked it. The alien's tracks became erratic, showing signs of panic and desperation. They found him hanging upside down from a tree, very much alive but trapped in what appeared to be a biological snare. A plant had wrapped thick muscular vines around his legs and was slowly dissolving his armor with acidic secretions. The Krillian warrior saw them approaching and began struggling more violently. He shouted something in his own language, probably threats or curses. "We could just leave him," Jake suggested practically. "One less hunter to worry about." "No," Marcus decided. "We save him." "Are you insane?" Lisa protested. "He was trying to kill us." "Exactly," Marcus smiled grimly. "And now we're going to save his life." Do you know what that does to a warrior's psychology? Sarah understood immediately. She began preparing a neutralizing agent for the plant's acid, while Lisa rigged a pulley system to lift the warrior free. Jake kept watch for other threats. The rescue took 30 minutes. The Krillian warrior, who they learned was named Quindal, was badly injured but alive. His armor was melted in places, and the acid had burned his skin, but he would survive. As they bandaged his wounds using their medical supplies, Quindal stared at them with a mix of confusion and something that might have been respect. "Why?" he asked in broken English. "Because that's what humans do," Sarah replied simply. "We help." They left him there with basic medical supplies and his weapons. As they walked away, Marcus keyed his throat mic. "This is where we start playing a different game." The psychological war over the next 2 days, the human team began implementing Marcus's strategy. Instead of hiding and running like prey, they started hunting their hunters. But they weren't trying to kill. They were trying to confuse, disorient, and demoralize. They left gifts at the aliens' campsites, food that wasn't poisoned, fresh water, even crude medical supplies. They shadowed the hunting parties, always, staying just out of sight but making sure the Krillians knew they were there. They rescued alien warriors from the moon's natural hazards, then vanished before thanks could be given. The effect was devastating to Krillian morale. These aliens were warriors, trained from birth to hunt and kill. They understood predator and prey dynamics, but humans weren't playing by those rules. Huntmaster Vextar was receiving increasingly confused reports from his hunting teams. Tracker Quindal, the warrior the humans had saved, had refused to continue hunting them. 2 other warriors had been found unconscious but unharmed, with their weapons carefully placed nearby and their injuries treated with human medical supplies. "They could have killed us easily," reported War Chief Brenko, the leader of the 2nd hunting team. "We were trapped in a rock slide. Instead, they dug us out, treated our wounds, and left us protein bars." "Protein bars?" Vextar's voice was incredulous. "Small food packages. Quite nutritious, actually." "The point is, Huntmaster, these humans are not behaving like prey. They're not even behaving like predators. They're doing something else entirely." From orbit, Vexitar studied the tracking data from his hunting teams. The humans were moving in patterns that made no tactical sense. They approached danger instead of avoiding it, helped their enemies instead of destroying them, and turned every advantage into an opportunity to demonstrate mercy rather than dominance. It was, he was beginning to realize, the most sophisticated psychological warfare he had ever encountered. The trap on. The 4th night, the humans finally revealed their true nature. Jake had been tracking the largest hunting party, 6 Krillian warriors led by a veteran hunter named Sekhmoth. They were closing in on what they believed was the humans' main shelter. What they found instead was a carefully constructed trap that demonstrated just how dangerous humans could be when they stopped playing nice. The Krillians walked into a canyon, where the humans had spent 2 days preparing. Sarah had identified plants that released paralytic spores when disturbed. Lisa had rigged a system of mirrors and reflected light that created disorienting patterns in the alien warriors' enhanced vision. Jake had positioned himself with a clear line of sight to every entrance and exit, and Marcus had prepared the final psychological blow. As the Krillian hunting party stumbled through the canyon, affected by the spores and confused by the light, Patterns. Marcus's voice echoed off the canyon walls from hidden speakers that Lisa had built from salvaged equipment. Hunters of the Krillian Empire, his voice boomed, you have made a mistake. You looked at humans and saw prey. But you forgot to ask the most important question. If humans are so weak, so defenseless, so helpless, how did we become the dominant species on a planet full of predators? The Krillians had stopped moving, trying to locate the source of his voice. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? It's not our claws, we don't have any. It's not our fangs. Ours are pathetically small. It's not our strength or speed. Dozens of Earth creatures surpass us in both. A pause, then Marcus delivered. The line that would be repeated in Krillian military academies for generations to come. What makes humans dangerous is that we're the only species in the galaxy that doesn't know when to quit. We turned fire into a tool. We turned agriculture into civilization. We turned mathematics into space travel. And right now, we're turning your hunt into our lesson on why you should never, ever assume that the quiet ones are harmless. The canyon erupted with the sound of human war cries as Marcus, Sarah, Jake, and Lisa revealed themselves from concealment points around the trapped hunting party. They weren't carrying weapons. They didn't need them. The Krillian warriors, affected by the paralytic spores and psychological pressure, surrendered without firing a shot. But the humans didn't take prisoners. Instead, they gave the aliens water, treated their injuries from the spore exposure, and pointed them toward the exit. Go back to your ship, Marcus told Sekhmoth, the hunting party leader. Tell your hunt master that the prey has teeth. As the demoralized Krillian hunters stumbled out of the canyon, Vextar's voice crackled through Sekhmoth's communicator. Report, Sekhmoth. What is your status? There was a long pause before the veteran hunter replied. Hunt master, we have a problem. These aren't prey animals. These are something else entirely. Explain. Hunt master. Sekhmoth's voice carried a note of fear that Vextar had never heard from him before. I think we may have just met the apex predators of the galaxy, and they've been pretending to be harmless. The real hunt begins. The revelation. Hunt Master Vexitar stood in the command center of his ship, staring at the tactical display that showed the positions of his hunting teams on Kethmaran's surface. In 3,000 years of conducting the great hunt, he had never seen anything like this. His warriors, elite Krillian hunters trained from birth, were retreating, not falling back to regroup, not repositioning for tactical advantage. They were genuinely fleeing from 4 humans with basic survival equipment. This is impossible, muttered War Chief Brenko, the scarred veteran who served as Vextar's second-in-command. Humans are Category 7 prey species. No natural weapons, limited physical capabilities, no pack-hunting instincts. Then explain this. Vextar gestured to the screen showing bio-readings from his hunters. Half our warriors are showing elevated stress hormones consistent with being stalked by apex predators. The other half are requesting medical evaluation for psychological trauma. A new voice joined the conversation as Emperor Zarthol's hologram materialized in the command center. The supreme leader of the Krillian Empire rarely involved himself in routine hunts, but reports from Kethmaran had reached the highest levels of government. Huntmaster. The Emperor's voice carried the weight of 3 millennia of absolute authority. Explain to me how 4 primitive mammals have managed to neutralize 18 of our finest warriors without killing a single one. Vextar's throat sacs inflated nervously. Your Eminence, the humans are not behaving according to any known predator-prey dynamics. They rescue our warriors from environmental hazards, provide medical aid to injured hunters, and then demonstrate superior tactical capabilities that suggest extensive military training. Are you telling me, the Emperor's 4 eyes narrowed dangerously, that our intelligence on this species was flawed? Not flawed, Your Eminence. Incomplete. We observed human behavior in their natural habitat and concluded they were peaceful, prey animals. We failed to consider that their peaceful nature might be a choice rather than an inability to be dangerous. On the moon's surface, Marcus Chen was explaining the same concept to his team as they prepared for the final phase of their survival test. They had built a comfortable camp in a defensible position, complete with fresh water, processed food from local plants, and even primitive but effective camouflage. "They're watching us differently now," Jake reported from his reconnaissance position. "Before they moved like hunters tracking prey. Now they're moving like soldiers approaching an enemy position." Sarah nodded while cataloging her latest botanical discoveries. "The psychological impact is working. By helping their wounded and demonstrating mercy, we've forced them to recategorize us. They can't see us as simple prey anymore. But we're still outnumbered," Lisa pointed out as she worked on improving their communication system. "And they have better weapons and technology." Marcus smiled grimly. "Numbers and technology are advantages, but they're not everything. Let me tell you about the Battle of Thermopylae." As he began recounting the historical tale of 300 Spartans holding off a vastly superior Persian army, the human team made their final preparations. But this time, they weren't preparing to hide or run. They were preparing to hunt. The counter hunt. The transformation began at dawn on the 5th day. Instead of reactive survival tactics, the humans switched to active predation. But their targets weren't the alien warriors. They were hunting the hunters' confidence, morale, and tactical assumptions. Jake Morrison had spent his military career learning to be invisible. Now he put those skills to use in an alien environment, stalking Krillian warriors who possessed enhanced senses and advanced detection equipment. The key was understanding that stealth wasn't about being invisible. It was about being unexpected. While the aliens looked for hidden humans using thermal sensors and motion detectors, Jake moved openly through the forest disguised as local wildlife. Sarah's biological knowledge had identified several native creatures with similar heat signatures to humans. A few modifications to his thermal profile and some strategic mud camouflage made Jake effectively invisible to alien sensors. He spent the morning following tracker Quindal, the warrior they had rescued on the first day. The alien was clearly conflicted, moving without his usual predatory confidence. When Quindal stopped to rest near a stream, Jake made his move. Instead of attacking, he left a gift, a crude but functional water purification system built from local materials. When Quindal discovered it, he found a message carved in the dirt in his own language. "A warrior shows honor by protecting those weaker than himself. What honor is there in hunting those who save lives?" The psychological impact was immediate. Quindal's bio-readings, monitored from the orbital ship, showed signs of severe emotional distress. He abandoned his hunting post and began walking back toward the extraction point. Meanwhile, Sarah was conducting her own form of warfare. She had identified the aliens' food supply caches and was systematically improving them, not poisoning or destroying, improving. She added nutritional supplements, eliminated harmful bacteria, and left detailed notes about proper food storage in hostile environments. The messages were always the same. Enemies destroy, friends improve. What are humans to the Krillian Empire? Lisa. Park took a more direct approach. She began hacking the hunters' equipment using techniques that shouldn't have been possible with primitive tools. The secret was understanding that advanced technology often had more failure points than simple systems. She couldn't break alien encryption or disable their weapons, but she could cause their equipment to malfunction in subtle ways. Ranging systems became slightly inaccurate. Communication devices developed intermittent static. Thermal imaging occasionally showed false positives. The cumulative effect was to make the alien hunters doubt their own equipment, forcing them to rely more on natural senses that humans were better at deceiving. The psychological warfare by the 6th day, Huntmaster Vextar was receiving reports that defied all military logic. His hunting parties were experiencing equipment failures, psychological breakdowns, and tactical confusion. But most disturbing of all, they were beginning to refuse orders. "I will not hunt the humans," Quindal announced when ordered to return to the field. "They saved my life when they could have let me die. They have shown me honor. I cannot repay honor with death." Similar reports came from other warriors. Some spoke of finding their equipment repaired by human hands. Others described being rescued from environmental hazards by the very prey they were supposed to be hunting. All reported feeling psychologically manipulated in ways they couldn't understand or counter. "It's a form of warfare we've never encountered," War Chief Brenko reported to Vextar. "They're not trying to kill our warriors. They're trying to convert them." Convert them to what? To the belief that humans are not prey, that they are in fact worthy of respect. Emperor Zarthol's hologram flickered with rage. "This is unacceptable. Deploy the enforcement squad." The enforcement squad was the Krillian Empire's elite military unit, used for suppressing rebellions and dealing with threats to imperial authority. They were not hunters. They were killers, trained to eliminate problems efficiently and brutally. Vextar hesitated. "Your Eminence, deploying enforcement units in a ritual hunt violates sacred tradition." "The tradition is already violated," the Emperor snarled. "These humans have turned our sacred hunt into a mockery. End this now." On the surface, Marcus Chen watched through Jake's binoculars as a new transport landed near the original hunting ground. The figures that emerged were different from the hunters they had been facing. These aliens moved with military precision, carried advanced weapons, and showed no interest in traditional hunting protocols. "Game's changed," Marcus announced to his team. "Those aren't hunters. Those are soldiers." Sarah looked up from her work. "Does that change our strategy?" Marcus considered for a moment, then smiled. "Actually, it makes things easier. Hunters follow complex rules and traditions. Soldiers just follow orders. And humans have been dealing with soldiers for a very long time. The real hunt begins." The enforcement squad consisted of 12 elite Krillian warriors equipped with energy weapons, advanced armor, and orders to terminate the human test subjects with extreme prejudice. They landed with overwhelming force and began systematic searching for their targets. What they found instead was a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. The humans had spent 6 days learning the moon's environment, understanding its hazards, and mapping its resources. They knew which plants were toxic to Krillian biology, which terrain features could be used for cover, and where the environmental dangers were most severe. More importantly, they understood something the aliens didn't: the difference between fighting to win and fighting to survive. The first enforcement squad patrol encountered what appeared to be a simple trap, a deadfall designed to block their path. When they moved to clear it, they triggered a secondary system that released clouds of toxic spores into the air. Their environmental suits protected them from immediate harm, but the spores clogged their air filters and sensors. While they dealt with the contamination, Jake Morrison appeared from concealment and disabled their communication equipment with a focused electromagnetic pulse generated from components salvaged from their own discarded gear. Before they could react, he vanished back into the forest. The patrol found themselves isolated, partially blinded, and facing an enemy who had just demonstrated the ability to strike at will and disappear. "This is Squad Leader Kextal to command." The patrol leader tried to report only to discover his communicator was dead. "Command, respond." Sarah Walsh was watching from a concealed position as the alien patrol began showing signs of stress. Isolation was one of humanity's oldest military tactics. Separate the enemy from support and watch their confidence erode. But the humans weren't finished. As the patrol attempted to continue their search, they encountered a series of obstacles that seemed designed more to frustrate than kill. Paths were blocked by thorn bushes that hadn't been there an hour before. Stream crossings were sabotaged, to be treacherous but not impassable. Equipment caches were moved just far enough to waste time searching. The cumulative effect was to slow the aliens down and tire them out while the humans maintained the initiative. Lisa Park had been busy preparing the final phase of their defense. Using her engineering knowledge and 6 days' worth of scavenged materials, she had constructed something that would have made her professors proud: a primitive but effective communication jamming system that could interfere with Krillian military frequencies. When activated, it created a bubble of electronic silence around the human position, preventing the aliens from coordinating their attacks or calling for backup. The final confrontation, by sunset on the 6th day, the surviving members of the enforcement squad had regrouped at the original landing site. They had lost contact with command, their equipment was failing, and they had yet to engage their targets in direct combat. Hunt Master Vextar, monitoring from orbit, could see his warriors' biosigns, but couldn't communicate with them. The jamming field the humans had created was crude but effective, blocking all military frequencies while leaving civilian bands open. As if to emphasize the point, his communication console suddenly crackled to life with a transmission on an open frequency. Hunt Master Vextar, this is Captain Marcus Chen. I believe we need to talk. Vextar stared at the console in disbelief. How are you accessing our communication systems? Your engineer never considered that humans might understand. Reverse engineering. We've been studying your technology for 6 days. We've learned a few things. You are in violation of Hunt protocols, Vextar began, but Marcus cut him off. The Hunt protocols ended when you sent soldiers instead of hunters. Now we're operating under different rules. Human rules. State your terms, Vextar said, recognizing that the tactical situation had shifted beyond his control. Simple. Your people leave. All of them. We'll release your enforcement squad unharmed and provide them safe passage to their transport. In return, you leave Earth alone and spread the word that humans are not suitable prey. And if I refuse? Marcus's voice carried a note of steel that made Vexatar's scales ripple with unease. Then you'll learn why humans became the dominant species on a planet where everything else was bigger, stronger, and had better natural weapons. We didn't reach the top of our food chain by being the biggest predators, Hunt Master. We got there by being the most stubborn. There was a pause. Then Marcus continued. Your enforcement squad is currently surrounded by environmental hazards that we've been carefully avoiding for 6 days. We know where the acid pools are, which plants release lethal toxins, and where the ground is unstable. Your soldiers don't. They're alive because we've been keeping them alive. But our generosity has limits. Vextar looked at his displays, seeing his warriors' positions overlaid on a terrain map. To his horror, he realized that Marcus was right. The enforcement squad was positioned in the middle of the most dangerous area on the moon, guided there by what they had thought were random encounters and obstacles. You've been herding them, he said in amazement. Like sheep to slaughter, except we're not planning to slaughter them. That's the difference between humans and predators, Hunt Master. Predators kill because it's their nature. Humans kill only when necessary. But make no mistake, when it becomes necessary, we're very good at it. Victory and new understanding. The extraction took place at dawn on the 7th day. The enforcement squad, demoralized and outmaneuvered, was released unharmed. The surviving hunters were already aboard their transports, most of them refusing to speak about their experiences. Hunt Master Vextar stood in his command center, watching the human team board their transport ship for the return journey to Earth. They had survived 7 days on Kethmoran using primitive equipment against overwhelming odds. More than survived, they had dominated. Your assessment, War Chief? He asked Brenko. The veteran warrior's response was thoughtful. They are not prey, Hunt Master. They are not even predators in any sense we understand. They are something else entirely. Explain. Predators kill for food or territory. These humans fought for survival and principle. They rescued enemies, improved our supply caches, and treated our wounded. But when threatened with lethal force, they responded with tactics that neutralize superior numbers and technology without killing unnecessarily. Brenko paused, choosing his words carefully. Hunt Master, I believe we have encountered a species that represents a new category of threat. They are apex problem solvers. They don't just adapt to their environment. They modify it to suit their needs. They don't just survive challenges, they turn challenges into advantages. Emperor Zarthul's hologram materialized one final time. Your report, Hunt Master. Your Eminence, I recommend that humanity be classified as a Tier 1 threat species and added to the Imperial non-aggression list. Any species that can turn a hunt into a recruitment tool while simultaneously demonstrating superior tactical capabilities should be approached with extreme caution. Recruitment tool? 3 of our warriors have requested transfer to diplomatic service so they can study human culture. Tracker Quindal has submitted a formal petition to establish a cultural exchange program. They're not just survivors, Your Eye, Eminence. They're inspirational. The Emperor's image flickered with what might have been amusement. And your personal assessment? Vextar looked out at the stars, thinking about 4 humans who had redefined everything he thought he knew about predator and prey relationships. Your Eminence, we came here to hunt prey. Instead, we discovered that we had been prey all along. We just didn't know it yet. Epilogue. 6 months later, the Krillian Empire's military academies added a new required course: Asymmetric Threat Assessment, the Human Example. The curriculum.